Good evening, everyone. Welcome into Vol Society Live on this Tuesday night. My name is David Morrison. I'm the Vol Society lead analyst right here on the Vol Society Network. Make sure you're following us on our social media pages as you're watching us right now. Facebook.com/UT Vol Society, YouTube.com/Vol Society, and on Twitter at Society Vol. We got a lot to talk about tonight. Uh, Obviously, we are less than 1 hour away until the Tennessee men's basketball team getting ready to take on their in-state rival Vanderbilt. But before we get ready for that game at 9 o'clock, figure we hop on here, get us the latest news and updates on what's going on at the University of Tennessee. The chat room is now open. So whether you're watching us on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter, go ahead, leave a comment, question. This is your show just as much as mine. Give a couple quick shout-outs here. Shout out to April and Kay leaving us a like on the Facebook page. Obviously, we're going to talk about the Vanderbilt game a little bit tonight. Not really much to talk about, but we're going to definitely recap the Vols and Lady Vols games over the week. Both teams on a winning streak. Both teams undefeated in conference play. That's very important this portion of the basketball season. We'll also talk about the transfer portal. Tennessee had a big day yesterday in the transfer portal. There were some three players Tennessee was targeting, and they picked up all three. And also, when you have players come in from the transfer portal, it seems like you're going to have players going out. We'll talk about that also. Big news also for the College Football Hall of Fame, which was announced yesterday. A fellow VFL, a legendary VFL, matter of fact, going to the College Football Hall of Fame, Eric Berry. I'll give you my thoughts on that when we go along. Tennessee also named a new offensive coordinator, and Joey Hassel. I think that's a nice pickup for the football team, and we'll talk about that also. And also this Saturday, big time event going on during the Tennessee-Kentucky game, and that is the jersey retirement of one Chris Lofton. We will definitely dive into that. And also, as we kind of wrap up the show, obviously not now, but later on, we'll talk about Tennessee Athletics' recent success in the top 25 polls. Very interesting dig up I kind of found. And we'll talk about some sports that don't really get a lot of recognition. But obviously, we'll go ahead and dive into basketball. As I mentioned, Tennessee taking on Vanderbilt coming up at the top of the hour at 9 o'clock. Tennessee, a 17 point favorite over the Commodores, according to the ESPN Basketball Power Index. Tennessee's a 97% favorite to win in this game. Not really surprised by that. I expect them to win. I mean, like I said, Vanderbilt has not had the greatest season so far. And like I said, Tennessee right now is starting to get red hot. They've had a couple of big time games last week, or at least the last time we talked to y'all on Fall Society Live. If you remember last Tuesday night when they played Mississippi State, remember they jump out to that 16-0 lead and end up routing Mississippi State, a very good Mississippi State team, 87-53, the final score in that one. We saw the return of Josiah Jordan James to the Tennessee rotation in that game. But kind of going back last Tuesday night, Tennessee beat Mississippi State 87-53. Santiago Vescovi led the way in points with 14 points on that night, 4 for 8 from the field. Just an overall great showing by Tennessee in that game. And then fast forward to Saturday, Tennessee took on South Carolina. Another big-time performance for the Vols on the road against a South Carolina team that has some talent, but, also going through a new head coaching change. And, the former head coach Frank Martin leaving and now enters in Lamont Paris from Chattanooga. So, like I said, that for a team that has one of the best freshmen in the nation and G.G. Jackson, Tennessee really shut him down and, pretty much shut the whole South Carolina team down. But a nice showing Saturday, 85-42, the final score. Olivier Comlois probably had his best game at Tennessee, 21 points in that one, 10 rebounds, finished 10 for 10, field goal percentage, 100%. If you do the math. So great showing for Olivier Comlois. And right now, Tennessee looking pretty right now at 13-2 on the year. Number 5 in the nation. Just doing a fantastic job. Kind of looking at the stats here. Santiago Vescovi still leads the way in scoring with 12 points per game. Joseph Adu's really come along nicely, now leading the team in rebounds at 5.5 a game. Zakai Ziegler doing a great job, really coming off the bench. I figured Zakai would have been the one running the point, but they've been letting Santi run the point for the most part. But he's still contributing, averaging 4 assists a games. He's also leads the team in steals at 2. Joseph Adu also leading the team in blocks. So we're seeing, kind of what we're typical seeing of Rick Barnes teams, just, good leadership on the court, with Santi, Josiah, Olivier Kamwa, Uros Plavic. And then we're also seeing the freshmen fitting in very nicely and some of the young players fitting in nicely. The freshman, Julian Phillips, already averaging double figures per game, doing a nice job, 10 points, 5 rebounds. Tyreek Key, the transfer from Indiana State from the state of Tennessee, 9 points per game, a couple of rebounds, just doing fantastic. And now, like I said, adding inside Jordan James now into the mix will really help this Tennessee team out going forward. Tennessee right now, second in the SEC standings, right behind Alabama, who is undefeated at this moment. There's actually 3 teams right now currently in the SEC on January the 10th that is undefeated: Alabama, Tennessee, and Texas A&M. So, like I said, really shaping out a nice SEC season for the most part. Like I said, Tennessee's definitely in the thick of things. I expect them to be getting the double bye in the SEC tournament by the time March rolls around. And, Tennessee's still got some tough competition coming up. Like I said, Tennessee's getting ready to take on Kentucky coming up on Saturday. And I guess we'll go ahead and dive into that game as we have you here. So, like I said, this Saturday after tonight's game, Tennessee will focus on Kentucky coming into Thompson-Boling Arena on Saturday, January the 14th. That's a 12 noon tip-off on ESPN. Kentucky's really had kind of a interesting season, to say the least. They're 10-5 on the year. They're not ranked in the top 25. Oscar Tshiebwe, one of the best players in the nation, is on this Kentucky team. He's still going to be a threat. He's averaging 15 points a game, shooting 58% from the field. So an SEC Player of the Year quality talent that this Kentucky team's got. But like I said, this Kentucky team's kind of going through a lot of transition, and now these rumors going around with, is Coach Calipari going to leave Kentucky to go to Texas? So that's kind of weighing down on this Kentucky program. Now, as Tennessee fans, you're kind of laughing at it a little bit because we've seen Kentucky been the king of the SEC basketball for decades and decades, and now it seems like it has definitely shifted into our favor again as far as being near the top. And as far as my personal opinion, if as far as Coach Cal going to Texas, and for those who may not know, them kind of back up here. So Texas, who we are going to play in the SEC Big 12 Challenge, let their coach go, Chris Beard. I think right around the holidays, he had a public domestic arrest, which led to his dismissal at Texas. So now Texas is trying to get a big time name to come to Austin to run that basketball program. And I've heard names from Bruce Pearl to Sean Miller to Coach Calipari, and it seems like Coach Calipari is the one that's kind of getting a lot of heat, a lot where there's smoke, there's fire, to be exact. Coach Cal does have a lifetime contract at Kentucky. But honestly, it wouldn't shock me if he leaves. I mean, I'm looking at this Kentucky basketball program. Like I said, from a Tennessee fan's perspective, it's kind of cool to see Kentucky going through these issues. But, look at it take the Tennessee hat off for a second. I'm seeing a Kentucky team that is not a giant in SEC basketball anymore. I'm seeing a Kentucky team that's just kind of almost mediocre at times. Yeah, they're still going to bring talent. Yeah, they're still an attraction. Yeah, whenever they go on the road, they're still going to bring bring people to their games. Still going to sell out. But you look at this. You look at this Kentucky program. It's like, where do they go? Where's the direction going? They're just kind of floating out in the middle of the ocean or whatever body of water you want to pick. And there's just no sense of direction. It seems like it's just kind of, oh yeah, Kentucky, they're gonna win 20 plus games, get in the NCAA tournament, but what's gonna happen from there? To me, there's just kind of no direction. So it wouldn't shock me if Kentucky's like, okay, yeah, Coach Cal has done great success. He's won a national championship, but maybe we don't see any direction going him, and maybe Cal may be looking at it. It's like, I used to have these McDonald's All American rosters, like 3, 4, 5 freshmen in the lineup every year. And yeah, maybe pick up one or two each time. But the way college basketball is changing with NIL and transfer portal, and a lot of those players that Coach Cal used to get back in the day going to the G League or maybe going elsewhere. Like, you know, I don't need to necessarily go to Kentucky to go to the NBA. So maybe a fresh start for Coach Cal. But that's just all speculation. But I obviously Tennessee. I'm very excited about playing Kentucky. I think we can hold our own. I know Kentucky has won the last couple of times since last couple of trips to Knoxville, but Tennessee has had great success at Thompson Boling Arena against Kentucky. Um, I expect nothing different. I think Tennessee will get the win, not only tonight, but definitely will get the win on Saturday against the Cats and continue to roll this momentum. And then the next week we got to go to Mississippi State, and that's not going to be a tough place. Especially, I know we just thumped them last Tuesday night, but honestly, that's going to be a different atmosphere when we go down to Humphrey Coliseum that next Tuesday. But like I said, Tennessee men's basketball looking very good. Same thing with the Lady Vols. Lady Vols looking fantastic on the season. Let me go ahead and pull their schedule up on my phone here. The Lady Vols getting ready to take on Texas A&M coming up Thursday night, 9 o'clock on the SEC Network, and that's at College Station. Lady Vols undefeated in SEC play. Seems like when I kind of made that mini rant to Kelly Harper, like, you got to get this team in a direction. It seems like they've really turned it on. Cade says it's going to be awesome. Yeah, it's going to be awesome indeed. Coming up to the season. Like I said, Lady Vols. Like I said, they're undefeated in SEC play 4-0. I think they got a pretty easy SEC portion of the schedule coming up, at least until the end of the month. You're looking at Texas A&M coming up on the 12th. Then you get Georgia at home that following Sunday. Then you got the rematch with Florida at home. I expect them to do fairly well. To me, the Lady Vols gauntlet coming up is going to be towards the end of January. And January 22nd, you got to go to Missouri. And this Missouri team's probably going to be 17-4 by the time you meet them. That's going to be a tough place to get a win, or at least to try to get a win there. And then you get UConn coming up on January 25th. That's on a Thursday night, and ESPN announced College Game Day will be in Knoxville for the UConn Lady Vols game. That's the We Back Pack game on January 26th. So pretty cool to get some national recognition for that. And then you got to go to LSU on the 30th of January. But like I said, I think the Lady Vols will continue in this winning ways. Like I said, they got some pretty easy opponents. I'm happy for Kelly Harper to finally turning this team around. I was nervous last month, especially some of them losses. Yeah, we were losing to some ranked teams, but I was like, man, if we're losing to some of these ranked teams, what's going to happen once we get into SEC play when the competition is going to be tougher and these opponents are more familiar with you? Well, thankfully, Kelly Harper proved me wrong. She's doing very well. And, I like the matchups coming up for the Lady Vols with the Aggies, with Georgia, Florida. And then once we get towards the end of the January, that's where we're going to really see is this Lady Vols team for real. But shout out to Jordan Horson. She picked up her 1,000th career point last week. Also, a big time showing for Rakia Jackson on Sunday against Vanderbilt, an 84-71 victory. She went 23 points, 8 from 17 from the field. So Lady Vols looking good at 12-6. And getting ready to head down to the Lone Star State to take on the Aggies, the Texas A&M. So, good luck to the Lady Vols. All right, switching over to football really quick. Busy day for the Tennessee football team. Tennessee was had 3 targets in the transfer portal that they were really looking out for and hopefully would land at the University of Tennessee, and Tennessee hit all 3 of them. Let's start with Dante Thornton. So Dante Thornton yesterday at 1 o'clock announced his commitment to the University of Tennessee, former Oregon Duck. Last year, playing for Oregon, he had 17 catches for 366 yards and 1 touchdown. Kind of had a wild game. When he played Utah, he had 4 catches for 151 yards, but he fumbled the ball twice, and Utah recovered both times. So kind of a wild game against the Utes this past season. But, good pickup for Tennessee. Like I said, you lose Cedric Tillman, you lose Jalen Hyatt. You're bringing back Brew McCoy, Ramel Keaton, and Squirrel White. And you're probably thinking, well, that wide receiver core, Dave, looked really good in the Orange Bowl. Why would we need another wide receiver? Well, to me, it's going to add depth. It's going to add you're going to add an experienced wide receiver who's already went through the conditioning, and he's going to try to break out and be his own player. But like I said, it also adds depth because look what happened with Cedric Tillman last year. Tillman goes out most of the year. Now, thankfully, Jalen Hyatt had a breakout All-American season and, didn't really hurt us losing Tillman. But, that's kind of one of those once in a blue moon situations. You're not going to have that every year. You hope you do, and you trust Josh Heupel and company to bring that. But at the same time, you want to make sure that you do have experience and you do have depth in case injuries do happen. You want to see everybody healthy, obviously, but somebody's going to get banged up and may have to miss some playing time, and adding extra depth. So not only Thornton's going to be in that wide receiver room with McCoy and White, Ramel Keaton, but you're also going to have Chaz Nimrod, Cam Miller, part of that wide receiver core, some of the incoming freshmen. So it's going to be very deep. Now, also, Tennessee did lose a wide receiver to the transfer portal in Walker Merrill. This kind of surprised me. I was really pulling for Walker Merrill. It seemed like he was really climbing the depth chart and getting some playing times. He had some touchdowns for Tennessee, but just for I guess for some reason probably saw the writing on the wall, and we don't. And whenever I see players from Tennessee transfer, I don't think they're necessarily quitting the team. There's other factors that play along in their lives, and I'm not a mind reader, and I don't know what everybody's thoughts and ways of thinking are, obviously. So I always look at it like, if you do want to transfer, make sure you're, number one, transferring for the right way, and number two, make sure you're, mentally happy that maybe I need to go somewhere else and get my ducks in a row and whatnot. So, but best wishes for Walker Merrill. I mean, he is from Brentwood, Tennessee, so we'll see where he goes from there. But like I said, one player leaves, and now you bring in Dante Thornton from Oregon. Omar Norman Lott from Arizona State, defensive lineman. In 2021, had 30 tackles, 16 solo, 2 sacks. In 2021, production numbers kind of dropped off this year. Just doing some research, only 14 tackles, 8 solo, 2 sacks. I meant to check see if he had any injuries this season, but like I said, he's played at Arizona State. Obviously, Arizona State had a coaching change in going from Herm Edwards to now Kenny Dillingham. So anytime you have a coaching change, and we saw this, a couple years ago with Heupel now, players are going to transfer out. So we welcome in Omar Norman Lott to this defensive line. I know Roddy Gardner probably really pushed hard to get him there. Uh, I think he's going to be good with Amari Thomas on that defensive line. Once again, add depth. I mean, you're going to have still Dejon Terry and uh, a couple of others, a couple of freshmen. Uh, I really want to see Tennessee really focus on edge rusher. I know you're going to have some freshmen coming in, but I think Tennessee probably needs to look at an edge rusher, maybe in the transfer portal, uh, unless you're going to focus on Shadavian Bradley or one of the freshmen to play day one. But still got a long ways to go before we get into spring practice and kind of figure out where these rosters are. But we welcome in Omar Norman Lott. And then the final player in the transfer portal Tennessee picked up was John Campbell from the Miami Hurricanes, 6'5", 320 pounds from Orlando, which kind of makes me think when Josh Heupel was at UCF, he probably knew this kid very well. But he enrolled at Miami in 2017 and stayed there till his 4 years are up. Of course, he's got the extra COVID year, and I think that's what he's doing this extra year for. Once again, adds depth to the offensive line. He's going to play offensive tackle. Be interesting to see how that's going to kind of work out. I think it's kind of more of a depth issue. I don't know if it's going to be kind of a plug in and play because you're only losing Darnell Wright on the offensive line, and if Campbell's playing tackle, I don't see any of the others kind of losing or leaving, I should say. So we'll see. I mean, happy that he comes along, and like I said, we'll see where he goes along as once spring ball rolls along. So that's kind of a look at the transfer portal. Sticking with college football, we'll talk about this first before we go into Eric Berry. Tennessee did pick up a new offensive coordinator. I think we mentioned this on our Ball Society Facebook page and Twitter. Joey Hazel, the quarterback coach at Tennessee, takes over for Alex Golish as the new offensive coordinator. So congratulations to that. Seems like, once again, second year in a row, Tennessee has promoted from within with a position coach this past season, I guess you could say. Tennessee, promoted Kelsey Polk to wide receiver coach when Cody Burns left for the NFL. Had a positive response for that, and obviously done a great job this year when you have an All-American wide receiver, Jalen Hyatt. So kudos to that. And now, second year in a row, you lose Alex Golich going to South Florida to become the head coach. And now you promote from within with Joey Hazel. So congratulations to him. Like I said, obviously this is still kind of Josh Heupel offense, so he's going to have a lot of say in it. But once again, it just shows the confidence in Josh Heupel of who he could trust to run this offense, and as far as position coaches go. And sometimes it's a good idea to hire from the outside in, but at least you're keeping that team chemistry, team camaraderie. Definitely a family atmosphere Josh Heupel has built in. And, keep it rolling, and excited for 2023 coming up in September when Tennessee takes on Virginia down in Nashville. I think it's on the 2nd, to be exact. Speaking of the football team, didn't write this on the rundown, but Tennessee does finish number 6 in the AP poll. The final AP poll of 2022 season. A little bit of a head scratcher. I thought we would at least crack the top 5. I'm surprised they kept TCU at number 2 after last night's performance. I thought, TCU definitely should have probably dropped out of the top 5, but I mean, we can scratch our heads about that for a while, but be honest with you, I'm probably going to forget in a month that they were ranked number 2 to finish the season unless I look it up. But, and I know some Tennessee fans are upset, should have moved up. I mean, part of the way I don't want to say upset, surprised we didn't move up, but I kind of go back to what I said back in this, after the Orange Bowl postgame show. If you would have told us back in July in 2022, Tennessee's going to go 11-2, finish number 6 in the country. Oh yeah, we're going to win the Orange Bowl, and every Tennessee fan be like, sign me up to that. So I kind of look at it more from a half glass full perspective in that. But like I said, I know Tennessee's going to be ready to go. I think we're going to be right in the top 10, top 15 in the early polls. I know ESPN had us at number 18. Once again, those way too early polls, take those with a grain of salt. You still got spring practice. You got this portion of the transfer portal window closing, but it's going to open right back up after spring practice. So you're still going to have a circling effect of players. The Jim Harbaugh situation in Michigan still going to kind of be open. So take those with a grain of salt if you read those today. Eric Berry going to the College Football Hall of Fame. Congratulations to EB. Vol legend. Kind of one of the, there were some great players towards the end of the Philip Fulmer run, but as far as like superstars go, Eric Berry was right there in the midst of it. Of course, he played 1 year with Lane Kiffin in 2009. All-American safety. I guess just kind of my memories personally of Eric Berry was just, like I said, during those late 2000s of just those big hits he had and some great interceptions and just all over the field. Probably my personal favorite Eric Berry moment was in 2009 when he was in contention for the Heisman Trophy. They made that music video of it was former Tennessee basketball player Orlando Woodridge, who goes by the name Swiper Boy now, and he was going by Swiper Boy back then. But they made that music video for Eric Berry, for Heisman, and it's kind of cheesy watching it back now, but at the time it was pretty cool in 2009. So that's probably my personal favorite Eric Berry moment. I did meet Eric Berry at an orange and white game a few years ago when his brothers Evan and Elliot were either being recruited by Tennessee or they were or they're already on the roster. He was just there and we were at the orange. Me and my buddy Jeremy was at the orange and white game, and he was just there was a bunch of VFLs kind of signing autographs, and he just kind of came over to our section, and we ran down there as soon as we saw him. It's kind of funny because this is right around the time he grew his hair out too, and almost didn't recognize him, but I did, and it was really, he's signed my program, which is over there somewhere and buried in my pile of stuff. But he was very nice, very friendly. So I had met him and got an autograph. I wish I took a picture. That was on me, but anyways. But congratulations to Eric Berry, first round draft pick of the Kansas City Chiefs. He career kind of got cut short due to being diagnosed with cancer, but now it's in remission right now. So great for Eric Berry in that situation. And excited to see him go in the College Football Hall of Fame, and I'm sure they'll have a have a presentation sometime in the season for him going into the Hall of Fame, kind of like they did in 2021 with Al Wilson. Speaking of recognition, switch back to basketball really quick. This Saturday, Tennessee takes on Kentucky. Tennessee will retire, I believe it's 5th men's basketball player jersey number in Tennessee basketball history, and that is Chris Lofton. This has been long overdue. Chris Lofton's jersey retirement. Chris Lofton, part of the run with Bruce Pearl during the mid-2000s. Chris and I are about the same age. I'm 37. He may be still like 36 or about to turn 36. So the Dane Bradshaw, Chris Lofton, Jawan Smith, Tyler Smith, Ramar Smith, all the Smiths, Wayne Chisholm, that from like 04 to 08, 09 run, I'm really kind of close to as far as my Tennessee basketball fandom goes, because all those men were, they're men now. They're all the same age as us, so I had more of a close connection with them. But Chris Lofton, really was a focal point of turning this Tennessee basketball program around in the the program was down in the dumps, and we had the black tarps across the top of Thompson-Boling Arena, and like nobody was coming to these games, and Bruce Pearl was a big part of rejuvenating that program, and Chris Lofton was kind of the focal point. But Chris Lofton, the all-time SEC three-point leader with 431 three-pointers, two-time consistent All-American, three-time All-SEC player, 2007 SEC Player of the Year. Some great Chris Lofton moments. His career high was 35 points against Texas in December 2006, and of course, probably his most famous shot, shooting that like 25-foot three-pointer right over Kevin Durant's head. I remember that, seeing that play live at Thompson-Boling. Big time moment there. And thinking about in the NCAA tournament, hitting a go-ahead three-pointer against Winthrop in the first round. And just, like I said, he was just a big part of the rejuvenation of Tennessee basketball that kind of continues on through today. I know we've had some down moments a little bit during the Conzo Martin era and the 1 year with Donnie Tyndall. But really, Tennessee basketball didn't take a dramatic drop right, I guess right when Bruce Pearl started, and now we're seeing today with Rick Barnes. But like I said, Chris Lofton really led the way, and happy for Chris Lofton. I was listening to an old interview today. Back in September, he did an interview right when they announced his jersey retirement, and just retired recently playing basketball overseas. I think he won a championship overseas in a league. So happy. Like I said, seems like he's doing very well. Seems like a nice guy. As a matter of fact, if you're in the Knoxville area tomorrow night, I think from 6 to 7 at the Alumni Hall in Turkey Creek, Chris Lofton will be there signing autographs. So if I remember, I'll try to post that on the social media pages if you happen to be in the Knoxville area or travel to the Knoxville area tomorrow night. Or Thursday night, take that back. We used to do the shows on Wednesday night. Thursday night, take that back. He'll be up at Turkey Creek Alumni Hall signing autographs. So congratulations to Chris Lofton. I'm excited about it. Even more happier that they're retiring his jersey the night of they play Kentucky. What's up, Dwayne? Hope you're doing well. Hope you're having a good new year. Thank you for tuning in. So, yeah, there's a look at Chris Lofton. All right, so let's talk about Tennessee's recent success in top 25 polls. So, obviously, on Vol Society Live, we kind of really focus most of our attention on Go Vols. Back to you, Dwayne. We kind of focus our attention mostly on football, basketball, baseball. And every once in a while, we'll kind of dive into the other sports if I remember. But, doing some research today, Tennessee athletics in general really is on fire at this point. And take a listen to this. So in the latest, now there's a couple of polls that are preseason polls I'm about to read, particularly baseball and softball. But these are the most recent polls and where the University of Tennessee is ranked in them. So the football team is number 6 in the country. That's the final AP poll. So Tennessee finishes in the top 10 in the AP poll. And obviously, at one point, we were the number 1 team in the college football playoff poll, and we all know what happened there. But football, number 6. The basketball team, number 5 in the AP poll. The golf team is number 7 in the golf poll. I forgot to write down what it's a different poll compared to AP and media, but in the main one I found, they were number 7 in the golf top 25 poll. The tennis team, the men's tennis team, number 6 in the tennis poll. Swimming and diving, the men's team, number 6 in the country. Lady Vols, number 14. And then here's the 2 preseason polls. Softball preseason poll, number 18 in the country. And the baseball team in the perfect game preseason poll, number 2. Tell you what, we talked about Danny White. We've kind of preached the name of Danny White for the last year or so, but it speaks volumes of what has happened. Oh, thank you, Brad. This is nice football behind me. The little white football. my finger is kind of pointing there. Vol Society gave me a nice little white football during the Christmas break. But we talked about Danny White for the last year or so. We talk, you look at Tennessee athletics, and Tennessee athletics and some of the other sports have been successful, but we've talked about the drama of what has happened, and with Philip Farmer and Davenport, and kind of the backstabbing going on behind the scenes. Well, now with that is all cleaned out, Donde Plowman, Randy Boyd, and Danny White. I mean, think about this, Vol fans, and we've had some great sports runs throughout, Tennessee athletics history. But do you remember ever a time where Tennessee athletics was everything was hitting at the right point? Football team in the top 10, basketball team in the top 5, baseball team's going to start the season in the top 5, softball top 20, golf number 7. At one point, they were number 1 in the golf poll back, I think, in the fall. And of course, unfortunately, that kind of got buried underneath because of football, which that's our fault a little bit for not covering that. But at one point, they're number 1, now number 7. Swimming and diving, men's swimming team number 6, women's in the top 20. Matter of fact, I think the men's swimming and diving team hasn't won an SEC championship in a long time. So obviously, what I'm trying to say is Tennessee athletics has great leadership. They've got great coaches in place. We're recruiting great players. Yes, some of that has to do with NIL and transfer portals and stuff like that, and we can kind of go off different rabbit holes with that. But I'm trying to say is I'm happy for Tennessee athletics just clicking on all cylinders right now, and we're seeing great success. And I know whether your opinion of the national media is as far as how they view Tennessee, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. But there's people out there recognizing what Tennessee is doing. There's still some good people that's going to give us praise out there for the name of the Big Orange. So I'm happy for Tennessee athletics. I'm excited to see what 2023 is going to bring up. 2022 was a great Tennessee athletics season. Even 2021 was good at times. But you look at, I wish I can remember how many SEC championships Danny White has won since he's been here. It's kind of astounding to see. I think it's like 7 or 8 at this point between regular season tournament and division championships. It's remarkable to see what has happened with what's going on in Knoxville. And Knoxville right now is a hot city, not only with athletics but entertainment value coming to Knoxville and business. And I know that's probably going to sound boring to a lot of people, but it's true. Knoxville's a growing city, and the University of Tennessee is a big part of it, and its athletic programs are a part of it. And here's to a great 2023 coming aboard. All right, so that's kind of what I had in my new notes and stuff like that. Go ahead and give a couple more shout outs. Dallas, Byron, Gary, Kenny, thank you for the likes on the Facebook page. Like I said, we're 20 minutes away from Tennessee and Vanderbilt. We'll kind of go ahead and close up shop a little bit, get y'all ready for the game coming up at 9 o'clock on the SEC Network. Tennessee taking on Vanderbilt, part of this rivalry week of basketball with Tennessee, not only with Vanderbilt tonight, but with Kentucky coming up on Saturday. Chris Lofton coming up. The Chris Lofton jersey retirement coming up on Saturday. Excited for that. Tennessee athletics is going to be great in 2023. And like I said, basketball's in full swing. Baseball's about to get going next month. Still going to have to find a way to squeeze in a baseball preview. May have to do it on a regular episode of All Society Live, but definitely check out that. Obviously, make sure you're following our social media pages: Facebook.com/UT Society, YouTube.com/Vol Society, and on Twitter about Society Vol. We're constantly updating it every day. Brad's really putting some cool stuff out there. I'm doing the live stream stuff. Uh, like I said, and thank you for all supporting Vol Society in general. We're continuing to grow leaps and bounds every day all across our social media platforms. Even with football kind of in the rearview mirror for now, we're still going to put out content every day, even related to football. If that's your main focus on Tennessee athletics is football, that's great. We're going to still talk about football January, February, March. I mean, there's no off season for football in general. But like I said, at the same time, we'll still talk about basketball and baseball and the stuff going along. So thank you all. We appreciate it. Continue to support us. We'll be back not next week, but the week after to talk some more Tennessee basketball and other news and notes to kind of, like I said, with football kind of winding down, we're going to kind of do these Vol Society live shows kind of every other week to really kind of update y'all on what's going on. So thank you for your support. I'm getting ready to go watch Tennessee to take on Vanderbilt and come away with a win. So thank y'all for tuning in to the Vol Society Live, and we'll catch y'all around the bend. So thank y'all for supporting us. We'll catch you next time. Go Vols.